Hey everybody, this is Chris Addig with the Veterans Law Blog, and I had a few extra minutes here before we wrap things up for the holiday week. I wanted to pop up here on Facebook and see if I can talk to you about a couple of things regarding VA claims and benefits, and also wanted to see if I can answer some of your questions. So here's what we'll do. These pop-up videos, when I get a few minutes in between work tasks, I'm going to pop up just randomly on Facebook, see what kind of questions I can answer for you and go from there. Sometimes I'll have prepared topics to talk about. Sometimes I will just look for your questions, but we'll see how it goes. So if you have a question, type it in and ask it. Typically, they come pretty fast and furious, and I've got a real small screen right there in front of me, so I don't always catch every question, but I'll do my best to catch the questions I can. But listen, we got Thanksgiving tomorrow, obviously. What I would say about that is just remember tomorrow to spend a little bit of time on your own, uh, going through the things you're grateful for this past year. It's easy to complain. It's easy to find things that have gone wrong, but taking a few minutes and looking at things that you're really, truly grateful for is really critical to I think, to surviving life, frankly. But be that as it may, I don't want to get too hyperbolic. But it's a really important thing. Take some time tomorrow to do it. Listen, the other thing I was going to tell you too is, take a chance tomorrow or take the time tomorrow on Thanksgiving or on the day after Thanksgiving to start developing a healthy habit. Start running if you can. I know not everybody can run, but Thursday there's usually a turkey trot somewhere in every town, which is usually just a short little walk or run. And Friday, rather than go to stores and celebrate Black Friday and um, you know continue to be part of the overwhelming traffic and consumerism on that day, take a look at a group called Track Friday, and it's just a group of runners that go out on the day after Thanksgiving, and we just run. So I'm going to get up that morning. I'm going to go and run. I also have a little bit of garden work planned, so it's been a while since I've been able to work in my garden, and we're looking forward to it. It's a busy time of month. But anyway, enough about me. So actually, Jerry Winkler, you're asking a great question that's getting right into what I wanted to talk to you about today. And Jerry asked, is there a lawyer close to Akron, Ohio that works for veterans? And what I wanted to talk to you about, and I've actually got the map back here on the screen, is it's no longer the case that it's really important to look for attorneys near us in veterans law. Used to be. Now we're going back to 2007, 2008 when the law had just changed and attorneys were first starting to come into the process. That usually you wanted to find somebody close to you geographically, that way you could develop those bonds of trust. But over the last 11 years, we have had a lot of attorneys come into this practice area. I think there's like something like 13 or 16,000 accredited attorneys accredited by the VA to do this work. Obviously, not all of them are doing this work. There's probably about 500 to 600 that do it regularly. And you can see from this map, it's probably coming up backwards because I got my backward facing screen on my phone. But you can see on this map that this is the U.S. right here. And I put in a little dot using a heat map software I've put in to show where all the different attorneys are. And it's up on the website. I'll put the post in the comments after this video so that you can go and see that map. But attorneys are spread all over the country. I mean, there's definitely a shortage in the Northwest, but anywhere, if you're looking, from basically from Dallas east, you're not going to have any problem finding an attorney. But that kind of begs the question is, if you're not looking for an attorney near you, are you looking, what kind of attorney do you want to hire? And let me tell you a couple of things about attorneys is specifically, the best lawyers that are out there are in high demand. So there's probably a handful of attorneys out there that are well known, probably less than a half dozen that do this work exclusively, that are well known, have high visibility on the internet, are well known in VSO circles, are well known at the court, the board, and the regional offices. And those of us that do this work at that high volume are really in high demand. I mean, my firm gets hundreds of calls every week. The Veterans Law Blog, I don't take calls on the blog because I can't give legal advice. This is not a legal advice forum. It's meant to educate you about the VA claims process. But if I was to return phone calls from every person that sent an email on the blog, I would not really ever make it home. We're getting over, thousands of messages, so I've got to kind of look through and decide what we can answer to. But the point is that lawyers that are really sought after are in high demand. They're going to be harder to get a hold of. They're also going to be more selective in the cases that they want to work. And so, sometimes you get attorneys that take cases because they like a particular area of the law. I know one attorney that only works PTSD cases. I know another attorney that really likes orthopedic cases, knee, back, hip, shoulder type injuries. I'm working with a couple of attorneys to try to teach them how to do sleep apnea claims. But other attorneys will focus, they only want to work with survivors, or they only want to work with Vietnam era veterans. And then, there is obviously the business aspect of veterans law, and there are limits to what kind of cases lawyers can take. I mean, certainly we can't take I don't know many attorneys that take tinnitus or tinnitus cases just because they are so easy to prove pro se, and because it's really hard to generate the kind of pass through you need to support the staff to work all the cases. We would all go broke if that's all we did. But you get the idea is that attorneys, as businessmen and businesswomen, we have to be a little bit selective. So what are you looking for? Well, that's more than I can talk about in a particular video, but I've written a book on it. So you can get the ebook for free on the veteranslawblog.org. And I'm trying to read this post up here. In any event, you get the ebook for free. And what I do in this ebook, and I think it's something like 67, 70 pages, and I'm going to walk you through how to tell the good VA claims attorneys and appeals attorneys from the bad ones. What kind of questions you want to ask, what sort of things you want to know, how to spot whether someone is BSing you. If you use the questionnaires that are in this book, and if you take this knowledge to heart, and talk to several attorneys and be patient in the process, then I'm pretty confident that you're going to come up with an attorney that's just right for your claim or your case or your appeal. That's the key thing, is that a lot of folks, and I see this every day in my law firm, is folks just say, oh, we want to hire Attic because I see his videos everywhere, I see his posts up everywhere, and so I want to hire Attic. Well, there's certain types of cases that I don't do. I am not the person to do an 1151 claim, yet I get probably 40 or 50 requests a month for representation there. And when I say no, I don't do them, I get a lot of mad veterans, but be that as it may. Certainly not complaining. I try to pass them to the individual attorneys that I know that do that kind of work, and most attorneys do. But those are the lower priority for us. We have to get to the work that we do, which is representing veterans before the court. So I say all this not to give excuses why it takes a long time for attorneys to call back, but just to explain that you have to be patient in this process. Take the time, get the book. You can get a paper copy. I know it's showing up backwards because of this rear-facing camera. You can get a paper copy, and it costs a couple of bucks if you want to actually hold it in your hand. And I'll put the link to that in one of the comments as well. But you can get the free ebook and print it out if you want to read it on your computer or tablet or iPhone. It's absolutely free on the blog. So check it out and use that tool. Don't focus so much on looking for VA disability lawyers near you. It's actually one of the most searched terms on Google when it comes to veterans seeking lawyers. And because it's one of the most searched terms, it popped up on my radar, and I was curious why so many veterans would look for an attorney close to them when they have so much choice outside. So, there's places you can look for lists of attorneys. I cover that in the book. I cover it all over the website, and be that as it may. So the second thing that I want to talk about is a VA form that is always coming up in the questions that you all ask me and shoot me by email. So the question that I get commonly usually has to do with aid and attendance. And I'm sorry, I stuttered a little bit there. I'm reading, there's some dialogue going back and forth here in the comments. So I will just say, folks, you're welcome to share whatever resources you have. But just because a resource shows up in a comment on the Veterans Law blog does not mean that I endorse that resource or support it. I'm not saying anything. I can't tell really what this one is that everybody's discussing here. But I would say be very, very cautious. There's only a couple of resources that I recommend strongly. The Hadit website is one of them. Certainly, I think the VA website can be kind of challenging, but it's a really good source of raw information on unfiltered information about claims if you have the time to dig through it. There's also the Ask Nod blog. Those are really the ones that I recommend and support. Anything other than that, you got to really be careful because there is a lot of bad advice out there. There's a lot of folks that are here, blogging for a month and then they're gone. I was looking at some blog posts the other day, dating back to 2013, 2014 by a law firm. They're still posted up there, and the information in them has gone stale. It's no longer accurate. So you got to be careful. So point is, if something's showing up in the comments section here, I do not necessarily endorse it unless it's had it or Ask Nod's blog. So real quick, I'm going to answer a question that I saw right there. Why do I never talk about claims agents? And I apologize. I don't mean not to talk about claims agents. There's three types of representatives: VSOs, attorneys, and agents. Well, the fourth type is pro se, which most of you are pro se, meaning you do your claims on your own. I'm not trying to overlook agents. I actually know and work with several agents very closely, and y'all do the Lord's work. And frankly, if you're an agent, I want you to reach out to me and see if there's something that I can learn from you. But the bottom line is that I just sometimes don't say all the words: attorneys, representatives. It gets kind of to be a mouthful sometimes. So I'm trying to train myself to say advocates, but it is what it is. So when I'm talking about folks that can represent veterans, everything I said about looking for a VA disability lawyer near me, same thing goes for VA claims agents near you. You don't. In fact, the really good claims agents are spread around the country. There's one in California. There's one in Florida. There's a couple in, I think, somewhere in the lower Southwest. But I don't want to say the state because I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember if this individual is still accredited or not. But in any event, I'm going down a rabbit hole. The thing that kind of getting back to the original topic that I wanted to talk to you about is aid and attendance, and specifically VA Form 212680. And the reason I want to talk to you about it is, frankly, because so many of you have asked me to talk about it. I get these comments, and like I said, there's thousands of them, comments, emails, and so what I'm looking is for common themes, and this one kept coming up more and more and more and more, and so I decided to do something to talk about it. So VA Form 212680, I'm going to show it to you. It's going to be backwards again because of this backwards facing video, but this is the form right here, and it's titled "The Examination for Housebound Status or Permanent Need for Regular Aid and Attendance." And this form is a very specific use, and it's a very critical use. So let's talk about it. What do you use VA Form 21-2680 for? Generally, if you are applying for aid and attendance, either as part of a supplement to a non-service connected pension or part of special monthly compensation as part of your service connected disability comp, you're not going to make the request on this form, but you're going to support your request using VA Form 21-2680. So this is a form, it's an examination form, it's a medical exam form that's used to determine or assess if a veteran or a survivor or a dependent is housebound or in need of regular aid and attendance. It documents the level of care that a veteran or a veteran's dependent requires, and it has to be signed by a doctor. So you're going to take it to your doctor, and you're going to have them fill it out for you. And I think there's something like 35 or 30, yeah, there's countless signature blocks, there's 36 blocks, but in any event, most of the questions there, most of the substance of the questions have to do with determining whether or not a veteran or a dependent is housebound or in regular need of aid and attendance. So there's two different types of claims where you're going to use this. So the first one is the non-service connected pension. The second one is your VA disability compensation. And the difference between those two is a veteran, and there's a lot of eligibility requirements, but the basic one is disability compensation is for veterans who have an injury, disease, disability that's related to something that happened in service, or frankly, just because it originated in service. The non-service connected pension is available to certain veterans that are low-income veterans whose disabilities are not related to military service, but who are essentially indigent or do not have sufficient funds to survive. And so there's a non-service connected pension. So each of those types of compensation has an aid and attendance benefit and a housebound benefit component to it. For the non-service connected pension, what you've got three tiers of pension. You've got the first tier, which is just your base pension, and they're all income driven at the non-service connected pension level. But your base level is what everybody's going to get no matter what. The second level is housebound levels. That's the second tier. It's your base plus the housebound. And that basically, you're going to look at questions 32 and 33 on this form, and where it talks about how often or how many days per how often per day or week or under what circumstances a veteran can leave the home or a dependent can leave the home or the immediate premises. That defines what is housebound. When your doctor is filling out those forms, you want to be really, really certain that they're using precise and clear language. So that said, precise and clear language is frequency, chronicity, and severity. So if you cover those three topics in any lay evidence or any medical evidence you made, and use active voice rather than passive, your language is going to be much, much clearer. So the third level of a non-service connected pension is base plus aid and attendance. And aid and attendance basically means that you need the evidence, or you have clear evidence of needing assistance with two or more activities of daily living. That assistance can be from a spouse, it can be from an outside caregiver, it can be at a nursing home or a rehab facility. The aid and attendance can't be at a hospital. Hospital is not considered aid and attendance. So what sort of things are considered aid and attendance? The bathing, showering, toileting, getting in and out of chairs and out of bed, and dressing and eating are the ADLs. Walking is not an ADL for VA purposes. And we'll look at these other two here. There's two big ones that I see a lot. Meal preparation and stuff having to do with protective environments are not assisted activities of daily living or ADLs. So if you have two or more areas or ADLs where you need regular aid and attendance from somebody else, then you're going to likely qualify for that if you use VA Form 212680 to make to get your doctor to know what's going on in that respect. So the other way is that you're going to be eligible for aid and attendance or housebound is through special monthly compensation, and this is available to veterans who are 100% disabled due to something that happened in service. And if that particular 100% service-connected vet needs assistance with two or more activities of daily living, then they're going to qualify for aid and attendance. And SMC-L is one of the base levels of special monthly compensation. There's other ways that you can get SMC-L. I've forgotten the exact amount. It's 100, a couple hundred. I've forgotten the exact amount. I don't want to say without knowing off the top of my head. But SMC-L is a base level. It's eligible. A veteran can get it if they are 100% and housebound, 100% needing aid and attendance, 100%, and then there's some combinations of loss of use of feet or hands, vision, and so on. You can only get one bump to your 100% rating for SMC-L. You can get, there's these other ratings, L half and full steps up if you have other situations. This is not about special monthly comp, and that gets really confusing. But just know that if you have a 100% disability rating and you need regular aid and attendance from somebody, in other words, two or more activities of daily living, or if you're housebound, then you're going to be eligible for that SMC-L. So you're going to use this VA Form 21-2680 to document it. And so some of the key questions on this form are questions 10, 23, 32, and 33. You want to make sure that your doctor answers those questions and answers those questions as clearly and as succinctly as possible. Do you need supporting documentation with this form? No, you need to submit nothing else with this form. But that said, it never hurts to have additional medical or lay evidence to support something like this. Because remember, this is not a claims form. This is an examination form from a doctor. And so having some medical records that support those particular instances of needing assistance with the activities of daily living can be very helpful. I would not send in medical records that have nothing to do with that. It's just going to confuse the VA, and you're essentially creating a haystack for them to have to dig through and find the needle. So you also might want to include lay evidence. So if you want to go to those caretakers and use lay evidence, when we get a blog post up on this here, I'm thinking it'll be next week. We're going to get a blog post up there, and I've got a questionnaire or worksheet that we're going to provide that a caregiver can use for documenting the support that they provide a veteran or veteran's dependent or spouse when it comes to providing support for activities of daily living or ADL. So lay evidence will support. Be very careful with lay evidence in support of an aid and attendance request. If you do it correctly, it can be very powerful. If you don't do it correctly, if you do it kind of slipshod, or if you're not real precise in your jargon, or if you go too far beyond the ADLs that you need to show or the housebound criteria they need to demonstrate, the VA often can and does use veterans lay evidence to deny aid and attendance if it's not done correctly. So make sure it's done correctly. If you're not sure, it's better to let it go as long as you've got a clear statement in there. be that as it may. So that's what I know about VA Form 212680. Obviously, there's a whole lot more of peripheral issues with that, special monthly compensation, SMC-L, SMC-L and a half, SMC-M, all these different levels. There's the non-service connected pension, there's aid and attendance, there's housebound, there's what we talk about, there's pension poachers out there, and you got to be careful of the pension poachers. These are folks, and we're not going to talk about it here because it doesn't have anything to do with the form, but we've got posts online that talk about pension poaching. You got to be really careful. There's some bad apples out there, and the VA's after them, thank God. Finally, after 11 years of knocking on their door, they're going after pension poachers. Now, if they would just listen to me and start going after some of the fiduciaries, we'd be all set. That said, listen, guys, I'm going to jump off here. If I have a chance after this later today, I'm going to hop in the comments section and answer a couple of these questions. I'll also put links up that I've mentioned throughout this video. But just y'all have a great Thanksgiving. I want to thank all of you for following the Veterans Law blog throughout this past year. You guys have really, really made a difference in my experience as a veteran, frankly, is getting to meet a lot of you. I mean, there's 97,000 of you here on Facebook. Many of you are subscribers to the blog, and getting to know you guys and getting to and gals, and to be able to help and share what I've learned about VA claims and appeals with my brothers and sisters in arms. It's the joy of my life being able to do it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the blog so that it's available for other veterans. Y'all have a great day tomorrow, and just take the whole day off from VA claims nonsense, VA appeals nonsense, and just spend the day with family, good food, and if you don't have either of those, just spend the day being grateful. Y'all take care. Happy Thanksgiving.